Pro Group Management. Workers' comp that works for you.
Welcome to Nevada Newsmakers. On the broadcast today, Michael Brown joins us. He's with the Lincy Institute and Brookings Mountain West. He's here for the whole show on an all-new Nevada Newsmakers.
4th Annual Coors Banquet Wildland Firefighter Benefit Concert starring Josh Ross. Live, Friday, August 29th, TJ's Corral at Carson Valley Inn. Get tickets now at carsonvalleyinn.com. Don't miss Josh Ross, live.
Mom!
It happens. And when it does, there's UMC Quick Care.
The Nevada Builders Alliance has been protecting the interests of the construction industry for over 50 years. Our programs save members thousands of dollars every year and allow them to provide much-needed benefits to their employees. Our industry also allows Nevada to grow. If you're thinking about a career in the construction industry, reach out. And if you haven't thought of a career in construction, what are you waiting for? We are the Nevada Builders Alliance.
A power line is more than a power line. It's maintaining the bottom line for small businesses. It's keeping the assembly line moving for our workforce. For our brightest minds, it's meeting a deadline. It's on the front line with our heroes. And on the sidelines of the biggest games. It's a direct line to our loved ones. And it's a lifeline for the most vulnerable. There's a lot on the line.
The trucking industry is the most resilient link in the supply chain, moving 95% of our freight in the Silver State. And while essential, the road isn't always smooth. Supply chain disruptions, rising fuel costs, and unrealistic rules and laws that hamper our ability to serve our customers and country. Our prosperity and every sector of the economy, manufacturing, mining, medicine, and food from farm to table, is tied to trucks. There's nothing without trucking.
This is Nevada Newsmakers with host Sam Shad, a no-holds-barred political forum. Now, from the Nevada Newsmakers broadcast headquarters, here is Sam Shad.
And back on Nevada Newsmakers, we're delighted to welcome back to the program Michael Brown with the Lincy Institute and Brookings Mountain West. Pleasure to have you back on the program, sir. And I also want to point out that you're the former head of GoEd, former head of business and industry in the state of Nevada, and former president of Barrick North America, and you were with that company for 24 years. So it's an absolute pleasure to have you back.
Great to be here. Thank you.
So let's start out with lithium and electric cars. And I've been a big supporter of electric cars. I bought a fully electric car a couple of years ago, big supporter of Thacker Pass, the lithium mine up there. We went up there a couple of years ago and did some shows up there. But what we're seeing in this country is a pullback on electric cars, both by the auto industry and the federal government. At the same time, we look at China and a company, for example, like BYD, that is going leaps and bounds ahead of us in technology. So what are your thoughts about that and about, our push toward lithium? Are we going to need as much as we're planning to produce?
Well, I think we've come out of a bit of a hype cycle on electric vehicles, and what we're seeing by the OEMs is a much more focused, much more deliberative strategy. We're also seeing technology gains. Everybody has this bit of range anxiety, and I can understand that, particularly in the West. But, when I drive around Las Vegas, you see electric vehicles everywhere. So the range anxiety is perhaps something that we can get over. We're continuing to see the OEMs introduce electric options along their brands. So I think we're going to continue on this adoptive process, albeit maybe slightly slower, but maybe much more deliberative with a lot less hype. The demand, though, for critical minerals extends beyond EVs. I mean, it's a national defense priority. the kinds of military conflict that we face now in remote locations has to be energized with power, and it comes through lithium batteries and those kinds of technologies. So, I think it goes well beyond automobiles. It's a national defense priority. It's also a sector where both the Biden administration and the Trump administration have recognized that we cannot let China have dominance in this area. They are our global economic rival, challenging us across the world for influence. And so I think both in the Biden and Trump administration, you're going to see continued support in this area.
What's interesting too is the difference in our country's thought process, where we think by the quarter for business. In China, they think by 100 years.
Oh, most certainly. They're still sitting around talking about the influence of John Foster Dulles on Chinese affairs, and we barely can remember that Dulles Airport is named after somebody named John Foster Dulles. They have a much different perspective and a much different memory. They're playing the long game, and I had the opportunity when I was at Barrick to work with John Thornton. He's one of the premier experts on China, and this is something that he constantly talks about, is that the Chinese are playing a much longer game. The Belt and Road Initiative, is basically a form of British mercantilism where, they are stretching their influence to get the natural resources they need to sustain their economy, be it in Pakistan or the Congo or Latin America. And, that is the challenge we face in America is meeting that attempt to effectively try to push us off the stage.
Well, what's interesting about that to me is that I understand from a marketing perspective the idea that, we're spending money abroad, but we're not spending money at home to take care of the people here. So therefore, let's cut off USAID because that money is going to those other countries. But then, as you point out, Belt and Road has been an incredible progress. Deep water ports through Africa and other places. And the whole political ramifications of investing money into countries that are not necessarily our best friends until we start investing in them. And it concerns me that the Chinese are getting ahead of us. Do you think that there's going to be a turnaround in that way of thinking with this administration, maybe under a different name, under a different guise?
Yeah, it'll have to be branded differently. It'll have to be executed differently. I mean, they shut down USAID, but we still need the ability to have soft power influence around the world. And I used to do backup government relations for Latin America. I spent a lot of time in Argentina, Peru, Chile. The Chinese need food, they need fruit, they need vegetables. This is a natural trading partner for the Chinese, and we cannot allow them to come into the South American market and exert their influence there. Same in Africa. We have to kind of meet that challenge there. So, I hope to see the Trump administration pursue more soft power initiatives, but it will be branded differently.
I would love to see the national media, especially the television media, the broadcast media, cover more of the world. I've been watching CGN TV, which is the China Global Television Network, and it's interesting because they have a lot of straight news from around the world. And then they do have propaganda, but they're so bad at propaganda that it's really easy to spot, and you can figure that out. But to see what's going on around the world, and we in America, when we're watching our broadcast networks, we don't get that influence. We're too worried about paving over the Rose Garden and worrying about building a banquet hall on the side of the White House.
Exactly. I now follow the Embassy of China's Twitter feed. The Chinese are very precise when they say something. A lot of thought goes into every word that's there. And the advice that I picked up a few months ago is that you really need to remove the filter and start to read directly what the Chinese are saying to understand what's going on there. And we need more shows like yours that are beginning to look at these kinds of issues beyond what might be considered the natural scope of a program like this. I mean, Nevada has the ability to influence this because of the critical mineral resources that are within the state. And it's important to understand that. We also have, substantial resources in this area. And it's important that public programs like this begin to pursue these kinds of topics.
Well, it's funny. I mean, I never intended to go down this road, but 40 odd years ago, I started reading the New York Times, mainly as a source for material for an overnight radio show I was doing. And I found myself reading stories about places like Mali in Africa. And I suddenly went, why am I reading this story? And the reason was it was so beautifully written that it was so engaging. And, that started my love of reading about different places around the world and the interaction between those places. And I would just say to people, don't worry about the politics. Pick as many different places where you want to go to get the resource, but read about these places because we're involved in all of them in one way or another.
Oh, we certainly are. I mean, the dollar is the reserve currency of the world. And, we want to be able to exert our influence with democratic values around the world. So it does require us to pay a lot more attention to what's going on in international affairs. And like you say, rather than focus on paving over the rose garden.
One other quick international thing as we're on the topic here. So as I look at China and Taiwan, I look at the economic impact of both countries on each other. Taiwan sells a ton of stuff to China. Taiwan is a big market for China as well. I don't see China making a move to take over Taiwan anytime. And I think it's a generation, and they would have to have new leadership that would make the Taiwanese people comfortable that they weren't going to be another Hong Kong. But I think that is so far in the future, and our media makes a lot of fuss about that.
I spent a lot of time in Hong Kong early in my career when I was at the Treasury, and I thought that would go on forever, and it clearly changed. I hope that we don't see the conflict over Taiwan in my lifetime. I hope that can resolve itself, but that is definitely a flashpoint in international relations. So as Nevadans, we also, we need to understand we're on the global stage. Las Vegas is a global city. International tourism is and was, we've had this downturn. We're seeing the downturn of international tourism and the effect on the state.
Okay, but now let's get away from the news media hype of this, because of course you're seeing somewhat of a downturn, but in reality, part of this is based on, obviously, the president's proclamations about Canada and Mexico. But we have seen such a boom time over the last several years in Las Vegas that those numbers were almost impossible to match. If you look at gaming analyst reports year after year, the highs were so high. We're seeing the expansion of Formula One for another 2 years with $1.5 billion impact on Las Vegas. I think that it's overhyped.
I agree. When I was at GOET, we had the economics team led by Bob Potts trying to forecast what the Nevada economy was going to look like post-pandemic. And we thought there would be a great Gatsby moment, of hyper-tourism, revenge tourism, big gains. We actually thought it was going to end sooner than that great Gatsby moment did. I guess there was more savings and more ARPA dollars, and people were willing to extend their credit cards to make those trips. But that moment, that has come, and now we're back to a new norm. Some kind of a new normal is forming up.
And it's interesting, too, to see that while the Strip is, and I don't want to say suffering, because if they made it through 2008 and the recession, and if they made it through COVID, that they'll make it through to fall when the conventions and the big events come back. But you look at the locals market, you look at what Station Casinos is doing and Boyd is doing financially, they're doing just fine. And also, Derek Stevens, who in my mind, not in exactly the same way, but he's a Steve Wynn kind of character that thinking outside the box and making things happen. I mean, that circa resort is something else.
I mean, we are the center of the gaming industry. It's where the innovation is occurring. They'll work their way through this. I've known those executives for most of my career. But yeah, that Great Gatsby moment, it came and went. And, it's not much different than what happened after the Spanish influenza in 1918.
It's funny. I'm watching a show on television where people are very upset about it being called the Spanish flu. And yes. All right, let's take a break. On that note, we'll come back much more with Michael Brown after this timeout.
Pro Group Management offers workers' comp services to a growing number of industries. As businesses grow and change with the times, the need for a solid workers' comp program must be flexible and up to date. The evolving nature of regulations can make staying ahead of complex tasks challenging. But Pro Group Management simplifies the work so your industry can move forward and succeed. Pro Group Management, workers' comp that works for you.
Like a traditional handmade basket, retail is woven into the fabric of life in Nevada. From big box to mom and pop, retail supports our communities in countless ways. Jobs for the disabled, team uniforms for kids, help for the elderly, and so much more. Retail employs over 1 in 10 workers. Retail supports Nevada, and we support retail.
RANNV.org. Fantastic cocktails and delicious food.
It's a good time to eat.
Over 500 hot slots, plus electronic table games.
It's a good time to play.
Player rewards and big-time jackpots.
It's a good time to win.
Ooh, your good time's a tamarack.
As you know, Reno is booming. Toll's development company is helping it grow with insightful design and development, building community with every project, adding beauty, adding excitement, emphasizing our shared humanity. Reno is becoming bigger. Toll's development is helping it become better, more livable, more enjoyable. To learn more, go to tollsdevelopment.com. tollsdevelopment.com.
This is Nevada Newsmakers.
And back on Nevada Newsmakers, we continue our conversation with Michael Brown. He's with the Lincy Institute and Brookings Mountain West. One thing that has been interesting was that I spoke to Doug Cannon when he was head of NV Energy a couple of years ago. And I was saying how nuclear energy needs a new name as far as marketing goes, so that the public would accept that because it is the cleanest form of energy. And he said immediately, fusion. Now, with the rise of these data centers and planning for even more data centers all across the country and around the world, it looks like small nuclear fusion reactors are going to be the game. Your thoughts on that?
Well, I skipped the physics class in high school, so this is not a great area of expertise for me. I did see some research from McKinsey and others in the last few weeks about the massive rise in data centers that's going to occur. And what I'm seeing on the economic development side is those data centers are tracking where can they find the power. If you don't have the power, they just move further down the list. In some states, it's leading to increase in dependence on coal. Just as they thought they were phasing out coal, they're having to pop it back up. Virginia's an example of that. I think you're right. I think nuclear power is back on the table for consideration and some kind of 21st century technology. It's not an area I have expertise on, but it is definitely, I know there's some folks at UNLV that have talked about in this area. And yes, I think that is going to be a topic again.
Yes, it will be interesting to get folks from the Nye County Commission on the program to talk about the potential for something at Yucca Mountain, not necessarily a repository, but something that would go along with this. Let's take one more quick break and we'll be right back with Michael Brown after this timeout.
Save money and take transit. Did you know you can ride the bus all day for less than what it would cost you for a gallon of gas? Plan your trip now by going to rtcwashoe.com.
Meet Nevada Health Link, Nevada's official health insurance marketplace. Your link to savings, selection, free assistance, and name brand health insurance, where 90% of enrollees lower the cost of their monthly premium. Everyone deserves access to quality health coverage, no matter your income or family size. Visit NevadaHealthLink.com. A few minutes could save you hundreds of dollars per month.
Nevada Health Link. Our plans are made for your plans.
You're in trouble with the law. It's easy to think you'll lose everything, but there is hope. I'm attorney Orrin Johnson. Your first step is to hire a serious attorney with the experience to successfully navigate the legal system for you.
Sometimes hope means addiction treatment instead of jail, and making sure you're treated fairly.
Sometimes hope means fearless trial attorneys will stand up to the government when they get it wrong. Call or text Orrin Johnson Law.
We'll make a plan.
You'll take back your life.
Southwest Specialties has been making the homes and businesses of Nevada beautiful for more than 20 years. Their experienced designers and craftsmen create the walkways, backyards, water features, and a variety of outdoor cooking areas that add curb appeal and value to your investment. Call today or visit them at their website and see how they can make your outdoor spaces special. Southwest Specialties, creative, distinctive, beautiful.
This is Nevada Newsmakers.
And back on Nevada Newsmakers, we continue our conversation with Michael Brown. He's with the Lincy Institute and Brookings Mountain West, former head of GoEd, former head of business and industry, and was with Barrick North America for 24 years, many of them as president of Barrick North America. Let's talk about AI, your hopes and your concerns.
I was at a conference of manufacturers and energy folks about 3 weeks ago, and the number one issue, particularly in the manufacturing side, was AI and how it was going to transform the entire manufacturing world. If you're my generation, this is something we're still trying to get our head around. I wish there was a CD somewhere I could buy that would explain it all. But it was amazing to listen to these Fortune 500 companies talk about how AI is going to be transforming everything that's going on inside their business. I think there's occupational risks to that and something that has to be paid close attention to. I think at the university, you're going to really have to start to understand what the jobs of the future are versus what the jobs of today are.
On the positive side, I look at the Industrial Revolution in the distant past, and the jobs that were displaced were replaced by other jobs. But I also look at, the past 30 years. I remember interviewing Ernie Martinelli, who was the head of, I believe, Valley Bank at the time in Nevada, and he was so excited about ATMs. And he said, these ATMs are going to be fantastic because they don't take vacations, they work 24 hours a day, and the public will be able to access them in that manner. But if you go to the bank still has people working there. So I think that that's going to be part of the revolution, is seeing where the jobs come up from, because there will be a need for that human factor to be in there as well.
It will be. I just saw this firsthand. I had the opportunity to tour the General Motors EV manufacturing facility and battery plant in Tennessee. And yes, it's a different kind of job, but you still have assembly workers, you still have United Auto Workers, you still have folks, but their job now is to maintain the high technology equipment that goes along with those processes.
My biggest concern is that the public, and the public, including everybody in business, I mean, it's really everybody, understands the limits of AI, that not everything that comes out is factual, that you need to double check everything. And one of the, I think the easiest ways to see the foibles of AI is to ask ChatGPT or whatever system you use about yourself and see what information comes back and the accuracy level of that. Because when I did that, both for myself and for Nevada Newsmakers, it was interesting to see how many things it got wrong. And then I put in the correct information and educated ChatGPT as to what the accuracy was. I think that's going to be very important.
I'm trying to do some research right now to document political appointments from Nevada, political appointees from Nevada, from Harry Truman forward. And AI provided a quick framework for me to frame the research, but I still have got to reach out to the Truman Library, the Ford Library, the Nixon Library, and say, do you have a list of appointees from that administration so I can kind of find if there were any Nevadans from that era. From Reagan on, it's all documented in the Congress. It's very accessible. But between Truman and Reagan, AI provided a way for me to get the framework to understand it, but I still have to roll up my sleeves and do the research.
And that, I think, is going to be something we're going to have to do for a long time to come. Michael Brown, thank you so much for doing this. I'm going to have you come back here very soon, and then we can talk politics as well. But I really appreciate you taking the time.
I'd be glad to talk politics, and we'll hold physics for another day.
Okay. Thank you, sir. And we'll be right back.
Each day, the Children's Advocacy Alliance partners with leaders, legislators, and families across Nevada to improve children's health, education, economic well-being, and safety. We recognize Nevada will be no better than the state of its children. Be a part of this change. Be a supporter of the Children's Advocacy Alliance. For more information, go to caanv.org.
Imagine a magical garden that feeds Carson City's hungry and homeless, teaches our high school students agriculture, creates hanging floral displays to beautify downtown, and yet charges nothing. It's not magic. It's the Greenhouse Project. It's real, it's growing, and it needs your help. Go online to carsоncitygreenhouse.org so together we can grow it forward.
Welcome to the Ahern Boutique Hotel, where luxury and warmth come together in the heart of Las Vegas.
We take pride in offering a one-of-a-kind experience for both locals and tourists.
Join us for handcrafted cocktails and an unforgettable experience.
Joel's Chop House, the perfect place to savor views of the Las Vegas Strip.
Satisfy your cravings at the Ahern Chocolate Shop.
No smoking, no resort fees, and the parking is always free. The Ahern Luxury Boutique Hotel is your home away from home.
It happens. And when it does, there's UMC Quick Care.
You can always watch Nevada Newsmakers 24 hours a day at NevadaNewsmakers.com. Thanks for watching and listening.